Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another video on the channel. Today we have Premier League Game Week 4 predictions, and I'm just by myself today because I would have had Philip, but his team is shit and he is sulking about it. He claims he's done with football. So yeah, I'm by myself. We have Premier League Game Week 4 predictions. Before we get into the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we've got Premier League, Champions League and Europa League predictions all coming up shortly. When the Champions League and Europa League kicks off, we'll have them predictions. Me definitely by myself, maybe Philip joins me, I don't know, because Fulham aren't good enough to get to that. And also make sure you smack my bell because that gives you notifications when I upload. Every week we will have Premier League predictions. It's been every Thursday so far because there's not been a Friday night football, but yeah. Also before we start the video, we have my results and scores. You can see the orange is my results and the green is my scores. Not bad percentages. I'm averaging one scoreline a week at the minute, and the results 15 out of 28, I think that's alright. So the first game we have is Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. The results aren't below me or they're not next to me. I'm just going to talk about the games and then pop up with the results. So yes, Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. Chelsea off the back of a 3-3 draw with West Brom. They play Spurs in like half an hour in the Carabao Cup, which is why I'm doing this video now. Crystal Palace, they just lost to Everton in a 2-1, which I correctly predicted. They also beat Man United as well, so this is a game of two different teams that are performing differently, obviously. I think Chelsea, I do think they beat Spurs in the Carabao Cup.
Alright lads!
Crystal Palace as well, I think they have the capability to score against Chelsea. So I'm going with a 2-1 Chelsea win. Just edging Chelsea because of their talent within their team. Now moving on to Everton, the Flying Toffees, against Brighton. Everton, of course, 3 wins out of 3. This is the game before they play Liverpool. Playing Liverpool next week. Yeah, that'd be interesting. And Brighton, who drew against Man United but lost because VAR is shit. Yeah, Everton are firing on form at the minute. James Rodriguez, Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison. It's all going well for the Toffees, so I'm going with a 3-0 Everton win. Of course, Brighton did comfortably beat Newcastle a couple of weeks ago, and they drew 2-2 against Man United. They didn't lose that game. But yeah, I'm going with a 3-0 Everton win. I think they're firing, and I think it's an interesting Merseyside derby next week. Now moving on to an interesting game, we have Leeds taking on Manchester City. Bielsa versus Pep. Leeds doing really well. They took Liverpool to their limits and they've won the other 2 games, beating Sheffield United in the Yorkshire derby. And Man City got absolutely thumped by Leicester. Granted, VAR helped with the penalties and all that situation, but they still lost 5-2. Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting game. I think Leeds will test Man City the way they tested Liverpool, and I think they're going to get a point out of Manchester City. I'm going with a 2-2 draw. Manchester City have no squad depth at the minute. They had to rely on 4 youngsters to be on the bench the other day against Leicester. No striker because Aguero and Jesus are injured, so Sterling up front. De Bruyne's in more of an advanced role, but yeah, going with a 2-2. I think Leeds have all the confidence in the world at the minute. And now a boring game in contrast to the last game. It's Newcastle versus Burnley. Newcastle, they lost against Spurs. There's no other way to go about that. That wasn't a handball by Dyer. I'm still fucking fuming. And Burnley, they lost 1-0 to Southampton. That was always going to be a tight game. And I predict another tight game, but I'm just edging Burnley to win because I don't know. Newcastle are just shit. They had a good opening game against West Ham, and then they've just fallen, losing 3-0 to Brighton and losing 1-0 to Spurs. That wasn't a draw. And now Leicester versus West Ham. Both teams coming off of a great win. Leicester beating Man City 5-2 at the Etihad. And West Ham winning 4-0 against Wolves. Nobody saw that coming. If you did see that coming, then you're a fucking maniac with both results. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. Both teams coming off of big wins, massive wins for them respectively, against 2 formidable clubs that should have beaten them. Or at least I thought so. This game always throws some interesting scorelines. I mean, I remember when Leicester won the league, I think they beat West Ham 2-1 and then they lost to them recently. I'm going with lots of goals and I'm just edging Leicester. They've been playing well since the league started again. Vardy's been scoring. And then West Ham, they lost to Newcastle and then they go and beat Wolves 4-0. So you don't know which West Ham is going to turn up. I think West Ham are going to have all the confidence in the world going into this. But I think Leicester just have that class ahead of West Ham and they're going to walk away with 3 points. Now moving on to Southampton versus West Brom. Southampton, last time there was at St Mary's, they lost 5-2 to Spurs. They played a completely different way to how they play against Burnley. And West Brom, they've just got a point out of Chelsea. I think they'll be disappointed with that, considering they went 3-0 up. But still, to get a point against a Big Six team in Chelsea, I think that'd be good for them. It's good for their season, definitely. I think this is going to be a tight game. I think Southampton have a bit of a leaky defence at the minute. I think West Brom will score, but I do think West Brom will lose. I'm going with a 2-1 Southampton win because Danny Ings. That's why. Now, Arsenal versus Sheffield United. Arsenal, who lost 3-1 to Liverpool yesterday as I'm filming this, and Sheffield United, who have had an absolutely abysmal start. No points out of the opening 3 games. I think they're going to get relegated at this point, along with Fulham and Newcastle, just for the fun of it. Yeah, Sheffield United have been poor. They lost the Yorkshire Derby, which is going to affect their morale massively. And going to the Emirates with an Arsenal team who have good players who are going to score. Yeah, I see nothing but an Arsenal win. I'm going with a big Arsenal win. I'm going with a 4-0 Arsenal win. And now Wolves versus Fulham, 2 teams who had massive losses over the weekend. Wolves losing 4-0 away to West Ham. Nobody turned up in that game. Jimenez, where were you? And Fulham, who just look absolutely appalling, which is why Philip's not here. He would have said this best. Losing 3-0 to Aston Villa, which is a close game for both sets of fans now, considering what's happened in the past few years. Going 2-0 down in 15 minutes is not acceptable. Going 1-0 down in 10 minutes in both of your home games, not acceptable. You desperately need defenders. You look to have signed Lookman on loan, which is a decent signing. But you need another striker, a DM maybe, and of course a centre-back. You can't do much with your team if you're Scott Parker, if you have Tim Ream and Dennis Adoy as your centre-backs, and Hector, who's not performing. In terms of this game, Fulham are not going to get nothing out of this game. I don't think they're going to get much this season unless they bring in signings that they need. I'm going with a 3-0 Wolves win. It's just an easy game for Wolves to bounce back after what happened last week. And now moving on to a big game on Sunday, it is Manchester United taking on Tottenham. I have to be realistic here. Son looks to be injured, although I've seen that he is in our Europa League team for Thursday. So I don't know if it's mind games by Jose. I know he came off against Newcastle. I didn't think he was injured. I thought it was because of our fixture congestion. We played Chelsea in like 25 minutes. We should win on Thursday in the Europa League, or later if you're watching this today before the Europa League game. And this game, I have to be realistic. I'm going with a 2-0 Manchester United win, because if there's no Son, then Kane and Son, they link up differently to everybody else. So I'm going off the basis that Son is injured. I'm going with a 2-0 Man United win. Man United got lucky to win against Brighton because they had a penalty after the full-time whistle, and Spurs were unlucky to not win because VAR is a bunch of fucking shit. Let's just put it like that. Everything needs to be reviewed with VAR. One team gaining, one team not. Fixture congestion versus no fixture congestion. That was a mouthful to say, but yeah, 2-0 Man United. I'm just being realistic. And the last game is Aston Villa versus Liverpool. A tasty game on paper. One of the games when I was growing up, I'd always look at it and think, oh, so I'll do the same here. Aston Villa, off the back of a massive win against a team that they would want to have won against, and they did. They won comfortably, 3-0. Grealish looks to be playing well. McGinn looks to be playing really well. Got 2 assists against Fulham. Liverpool beat Arsenal 3-1. That was expected, I think, of Liverpool to win. Liverpool just, they look the standout favourites to win the league. I think this will be a tricky game. I do think Liverpool had the advantage over Aston Villa. I'm going with a 3-1 Liverpool win because Mane and Salah. That's why. Thiago did test positive for coronavirus, though, so that could affect things massively. This game could be called off. We don't know yet. Yeah, Aston Villa, I think they're dark horses this season. I think they could probably make a push for the top 10 at least. But yeah, they're my score lines. That's a really short video because it's just me. I'm just talking to myself. I don't have anything for anyone else to talk to or talk about other things. But yeah, that was a short video. Like the video if you did like it. Subscribe to the channel for more. And I will see you guys later. Goodbye.